What's up, everybody? My name is Sid, and I've teamed up with the big homie Reg to bring y'all something new, something we like to call Beyond the Scoreboard. Y'all be sure to review, rate, and subscribe. Let's get to it. I got ice in my veins. Welcome back to Beyond the Scoreboard. As always, I'm Sid. What's up, Reg? How you doing, man?
Sid, I'm doing great. It's glad to be back, man. How about yourself? You doing good?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Today we are joined by Shawn. It's been a while. How you been, man?
I'm making it, bro. Actually, no, I'm good. I'm good.
All right, so before we dive into the playoff action from this past weekend, and then we're going to talk some Lions off-season football with Shawn, just want to bring up the fact that it's been a year since we lost Kobe Bryant and those other, 8 individuals in that helicopter crash last year. That year went by fast, man. That's
real fast.
That's something that seemed like it was really just yesterday, to be honest. And that's something that a lot of people still seem to take hard, even, to this day. So I just wanted to bring that up and have that on everybody's mind, that it's been a year. Of course, prayers to the family, to Vanessa. You see her every now and then doing this and that, trying to make it. That's something hard to deal with, not just losing your husband, but losing, your daughter as well. So I just wanted to touch on that before we dove into football and everything like that. Anything y'all wanted to say about that?
For me, Kobe Bryant, I grew up, watching Kobe a lot. I wasn't a fan of Kobe. I didn't, root for him necessarily. I mean, he took out my Pacers in the finals. So, but Kobe was a unbelievable basketball player, and the impact he left off the court was just as big as the one that he left on the court. So, like you said, we lost a great one, man.
Yeah, for me, I said the same thing last year when we talked about it on the show. Kobe, it was definitely tragic to lose Kobe, but I couldn't imagine having to bury your own kid like that.
Yeah.
I don't know how she's getting through every day, but like you said, prayers to that family, and it's just a sad situation.
Absolutely, absolutely. So to less depressing things, let's move on to the conference championships that took place on Sunday, with the first game being the Tampa Bay Bucks against the Green Bay Packers, and Tampa Bay coming out victorious in that matchup, 31-26. Reg, how did you see that one, man?
I really didn't give Tampa Bay a huge chance of winning that ball game. I really thought Aaron Rodgers playing unbelievable football leading up to this game. I thought he was going to pick Tampa apart. And I knew Green Bay had some offensive line issues coming into this game. Obviously, that played a role. But I just thought that Aaron was so sharp weeks prior to this game that it would matter, but he would find a way to outdo Brady. He would find a way to be the better quarterback on the field for the majority of the game, and that would be the difference maker. I also had them been able to run the ball a little bit more against Tampa Bay, and that wasn't the case as well. So Aaron made plays. I mean, especially if you just look at his numbers. If you're a numbers guy, you might find it hard to blame this game on Aaron Rodgers. He played pretty good. His defense didn't get off the field when they really needed to. But the only issue I really had with this game, and I felt like it was the difference, before halftime, more than likely Tampa was going to give up get 3 more points. But Green Bay found a way to give them 7, and that was huge. And I didn't like the fact that Aaron Rodgers received the ball twice in the fourth quarter. After just scoring, I think 2 or 3 times straight, he received the ball twice, trailing by 5. And he wasn't able to score a touchdown and get the lead for his team. It was 23-28, if I'm not mistaken. He got the ball twice, and he wasn't able to produce. And to me, that was really the difference in his game. I think if it was flipped the other way around and that was Tom Brady on that end down 23-8, and he was given two chances to give his team the lead, I think him being the GOAT, I think he would have found a way to do it. And that was the two biggest things that I took away from this game.
What about you, Shawn? I know you went in with Tampa Bay winning this game. So how did you see that one when you look back on it?
You asked me a couple weeks ago, was I still sticking with my same Super Bowl? And I wasn't. I wasn't positive on the NFC side because I didn't know exactly how Tampa's path was going to play out. But you remember I said that I felt like they had the opportunity to make a little run. And to me, it was because of all the things that happened in the offseason when they got people like Fournette, and then they added Antonio Brown. To me, it was a situation where you see that Antonio Brown didn't play and Ronald Jones wasn't healthy, but they had so many other weapons that they could use in this game. And then Green Bay leaned so heavy on their play action, but I knew that they wasn't going to be able to run on Tampa, especially with them getting Vita Vea back. So I was thinking with them just because this time of year, bro, y'all know who Brady is, and he didn't play great, but he made the plays when they needed to be made. And Green Bay's offense was very stagnant the whole game. Like, once they couldn't really get anything going with Aaron Jones, and like you said, the play before the half was crucial. The drop 2-point conversion was crucial. The fumble was crucial. Like, and then everybody talked about Tom Brady's turnovers, but I told you that I feel like not enough people are talking about the fact that 2 of them were essentially punts. Like, you know what I mean? Like he threw them, like the one to Evans that he threw up in the air, that they were going to punt anyway. So it wasn't like Green Bay got the ball in great field position. I don't know. I just thought Tampa Bay had a better game plan. They came in with Todd Bowles as their defensive coordinator, which is another reason why I had them going all the way. That the coaching staff, everything about them felt like, you know what? Once they get it figured out, this is probably the best team in the NFC.
And for me, it was never about offense. Going into the game, when I was looking at the matchup, I was like, look, we know what Tampa Bay got on offense. We know what Green Bay has on offense. What are the defense going to be able to do? And with Tampa Bay having the number 1, number 2 rushing defense in the league, you're like, okay, that's fine, because Aaron Rodgers and his passing game, as long as his receivers outside of Devontae Adams are showing up, they're going to be fine. Tampa Bay throughout the year never showed a consistency of their peak at defense, but they did have their moments. And yesterday was probably the best their defense had played all season long. The way that they were able to pressure Aaron Rodgers, which we expected because left tackle was out for the season. They had another guard that couldn't even suit up yesterday for them. And then, like you say, getting Vita Vea back and having Adama Sue and Shaquille Barrett played out of his mind Sunday when I hadn't seen anything from him all season after the remarkable season he had last year. The fact that they were able to get that pressure and have their secondary be able to hold up against Devontae Adams, and I know Valdez-Scantling probably ended up number-wise with a pretty good game. He found some openings, but the rest of those guys were really held to nothing. You got Mercedes Lewis at 74 out here catching passes because he ain't got nowhere else to go with the football. So to me, when I look at it, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, they both had their chances to make the game what it was going to be. But the thing that honestly shifted everything was the play of Tampa Bay's defense.
Yeah, they couldn't do anything with Shaq Barrett.
Yeah, exactly. They couldn't do anything with him. And then when they did, somebody, and Dominic Sue was getting through and getting a finger on the ball while it's, going where it's going or whatever. But outside of the defensive play, I feel like Green Bay died before halftime. Not when they gave up the touchdown to Scotty Miller, but when Aaron Rodgers targeted Devontae Adams 3 times in the end zone and he came down with none of them. I feel like the first target should have been a catch. That was on Devontae. He just didn't catch it. And then the 2 after that were pretty forced. But that of course, the Scotty Miller touchdown after that really put a dent in them. But the fact that they had to settle for 3 before that, took going into halftime, that made it an 11-point game instead of what could have been a 4-point game.
Can I ask a question?
Go ahead.
About what did y'all think about Matt LaFleur kicking the field goal down 8?
We're gonna talk about you raising your hand later. You go for a touchdown. In my opinion, you go for the touchdown because, for one, you're not guaranteed to get. Well, you're talking about towards the end of the game, right?
The game, yeah.
Because for one, you're not guaranteed to get the ball back.
Mm-hmm.
And for two, because he kicked the field goal and made it a 5-point game, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you still got to go get a touchdown.
I thought it was incredibly stupid just because even if you don't get it going for it on 4th and goal, you still got the 2-minute warning. You know, you have the four clock stoppages, but
look at where they starting at. Look at where you forced them to start at. Yeah.
Right. And so then even if you force a punt, you still got to drive to score a touchdown. Then well, I don't know if they would have got the 2-point conversion, but you still need a touchdown.
Exactly.
So I don't understand why you're gonna kick a field goal. It was dumb. Their defense for the most part of that game hadn't been holding up. They had a couple series in the second half where they were able to. I want to say if they didn't force an interception, they didn't stop anything. Like the interceptions they forced were the only times that they stopped anything. So thinking that your defense was gonna go out there and turn them over again, no, bro. Just go ahead and take your chances.
Yep.
But so that's it for that game. That's all we got on that one. Tom Brady just being goatish.
I would say this too, something that I'm starting to notice a trend of. Tampa Bay receivers, man, they drop a lot of balls. Tom Brady played excellent to me in the first half, but a couple balls was dropped. I really think if Leonard Fournette hold on to his balls, Godwin, he dropped 2 in the first half, and I think Mike Evans had 1. Man, we don't know how many points Tampa would have put up in the first half if they can have those drops back.
And Kevin King, bro, he should be cut already. I don't know how he survived.
At halftime?
What's today? Tuesday? He didn't survive 2 days longer than I thought he would. I haven't seen a performance that bad from a single cornerback in a while. Like to where they just literally just picking on you, and you're a starting cornerback in this league. That was weird. All right, so the second game of Sunday was Bills Chiefs. Chiefs ended up pulling that one out 38-24. I'm the only one here that even took Buffalo in that game. So what you thought about that one, Reg?
That game went, and I hate to say that, but it went just as expected. This was one that I said, in the first half, I think that it would be a little close, but I think the third quarter, KC's going to show their dominance and they're going to take off. That's exactly how that game went. Buffalo, like every other team, you take that slow playing approach. And if you think of Buffalo's offense, they've been at their best when it's been high tempo. When Allen rushes to the line, he takes the plays from the side and all that good stuff. But playing against KC, that's out the window because you don't ever want to leave too much time for their offense. So I knew they would have to slow things down. And how do you slow the game down if you have no rushing game if you Buffalo? So it just was going to be too much for Josh Allen, to do. Too much to put on his back, although he had a great season. But he played pretty good. He kept his head up. He used his legs to escape, make throws, and all that good stuff. But he got nothing from his defense. If their defense could have made some stands during out certain times of that game, I think it could have got interesting. But just because it was like they wasn't even on the field. I mean, Travis Kelce going crazy. Tyreek Hill, I got Hardman on reverses. Pat Mahomes seemed like he had at least 3 weeks to throw the football anytime he needed it. It was just too much to overcome. But I definitely would have to say the thing that hurt Buffalo to me, as we just mentioned in the past game, it came down to a situation where Buffalo was on the 1, I believe, or the 2. And they decided to go for 3. They took the 3 and didn't go for the touchdown. And I did not like that decision because, you're going to halftime trailing by 9, I think it was at the time. Your defense is played like trash, and KC get the ball to start the game. I just didn't like that. I think if you get a touchdown there, it will still be a one possession game, and you can try to get a stop and turn this into a ball game. But I mean, it was over from that point. They got three, and I was like, yeah, that three means absolutely nothing when you play against Kansas City.
And that's one to me that we just gonna disagree on that one, just because I feel like that early in the game is still. I'd rather have points than no points. Because if they don't get the touchdown, then what?
On the one,
If you don't get the touchdown, then what? Like if it was guaranteed that they was gonna score, they would have scored in the first 3 plays. So if you get out of there with nothing versus three points keeps it a 2-possession game, which is essentially what it did. It kept it a 2-possession game. You get no points, they come out and score. Then what?
Yeah, and they to me, and I ain't try to stay on this long, but I just really believe in order to beat KC, it's gonna take some guts. It's gonna take for you to not settle for field goals to beat them. We've seen this team come back last year down 24-0. They were trailing 14 points the next game. Even the Super Bowl. 5 minutes left in the third quarter, they found themselves down 10 and still won that ball game. All the rest of the ball games I mentioned, they came back and won those games by double digits. So this is not a team like even when it was 9-0. I don't think nobody panicked because we knew what KC is capable of. And that's just one of those things. I mean, it's cool to get 3 of you playing against another team in that situation, but having this big quarterback, being physical and all this good stuff, the season he's had, I just feel like they should have went for the touchdown.
So Buffalo, I don't have a whole lot of respect for Buffalo. And I knew they hadn't been able to run the ball all year. The defense not being as good as they were last year. I was pretty confident that Kansas City was going to roll in this game. But this to me is far more about Kansas City than it is about Buffalo because I don't know. I've been saying since last summer, I really don't know how you beat them when they already have the talent advantage and they have the schematic advantage. Like I don't really know how you're supposed to beat them. Like it's just when you got Mahomes doing what he do and Tyreek Hill just running all over the place, the defense is good enough. I really don't even know what you're supposed to do, bro. Like this all feels like. And again, we'll see when the Super Bowl comes when the game has to be played because football ain't like basketball. Like if it was a 7-game series, then I would say Chiefs 99%. But because it's a 1-game sample size and you got Tom Brady on the other side, maybe and their tackles being hurt matters. So we'll see. But I don't know, bro. Kansas City just they feel like a different type of dynasty than we've
experience.
That's true.
And for me, there's 3 things from this game. One is, damn, I forgot what one was. All right, so 2.
That man said so too.
A second. So when they played earlier in the season, Kansas City ended up winning that game 26-17.
Mm-hmm.
Buffalo I'm not gonna say completely, but Buffalo held Mahomes to 20 of 26 for like 200 yards and 2 touchdowns in that game. They said beat us on the ground. And Kansas City basically was able to do that. They ended up, I think Edwards-Helaire ended up with 160 yards that game. I thought Buffalo's defense was going to be able to replicate that, as in we're not going to allow Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill to be the people that beat us. If you're going to beat us, you're going to do it on the ground. And of course, I can see them losing that way. But, I remember my first point. But my first point was these past 6-7 weeks, Kansas City was just skating by. And that's not something that I felt comfortable with betting on at this point, which is why I took Buffalo. If I would have saw the game that I saw out of Kansas City 2 or 3 weeks ago, I would have been taking Kansas City in that game. But because we went 2 months without seeing that from them, I couldn't bet on that.
If I jump in for a second, remember I felt like about them the same way I felt about the Lakers when we talked about the Lakers when they got to the bubble. Mm-hmm. After the Lakers beat the Clippers, I feel like they put it on cruise control because they don't have to. They didn't have to. Kansas City, getting the number 1 seed would have mattered to them. But if they were the 2 seed and had to go to somebody, do you think Do you think it would have mattered really? Like once they started having to play like they played yesterday, then then they did. The only thing is, like we talked about, football is so finite. When Mahomes got hurt last week, they were in real trouble. Like because but you can't predict that. Like you can say that about everybody. Like play 2 of the Super Bowl. If Brady get hurt, then it's a different game.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So but I feel like when they had to play like their best football, we saw it yesterday, and I don't know how you beating them when they play like that.
And just to touch on that, go ahead, Sid.
Oh, I was just about to say, and then my other things was, one, Tyreek Hill is the ultimate X factor, with or without the football. Like, because you send him in motion, and your whole defense got to pay attention to what he's going to do. Yeah. And when you have other weapons like a Travis Kelce, on the other side of the field or coming up underneath that, what you going to do? Yeah. And then it seemed like Buffalo, I don't know, it seemed like they were confused on how they wanted to play him, even though it's hard in general, because if you play him close, he's going to blow past you. And if you play off of him, he's going to come underneath you and beat you in a foot race.
Yep.
So it was kind of shocking to me, even though I know how great Tyreek Hill is, that Tre'Davious White had so much trouble with him, regardless of how he decided to play him.
Mm-hmm.
And that was all the difference in the world, was the fact that we can't do nothing with Tyreek Hill, so y'all gonna be able to do whatever y'all want to do.
And I think the reason why they had so much time to figure Buffalo approach out, the defensive approach out, was because they got no pressure. A lot of times you would see 49 Edmonds in the middle of the field. He'll take the first crossing route, run him off, then look underneath, take somebody else, and he still had Travis Kelce going over his head, curling for 10 yards. If you don't apply pressure to Patrick Mahomes, it's almost impossible to even make it a game. You have to throw him off his rhythm. You force him to throw the ball just a second faster than what he truly wants to throw it. But long as he has time to see the field, scan, and say, okay, I got my check down right there. Let me move the defense with my eyes and still hit that check down. It's impossible to beat him. It's impossible. And we sit here and we say, they've been off the last couple of weeks. I don't think it's the fact that they've been off the last couple of weeks. Like I said in the past shows, I just feel like we have already reached that expectation for KC and Patrick Mahomes, although he's so young, that when they have a close game or they only win by 7, but Vegas predicted them to win by 12, we're like, oh yeah, KC not who they used to be, or people are starting to find them out. But I just think that's football. Like Shawn said, they don't have to be great every week. Obviously, if we up 14, we don't mind, giving up 3 with 2 minutes left in this ball game. So when you look at things like numbers, their production is down, or teams may be closing the score. But ultimately, whenever they have to make a play, KC makes plays, and that's offensively and defensively.
And like I said, bro, I've never seen anything like them, seriously, because how I talked about before, every team has a guy on their team where it's like, man, that dude is so fast. Kansas City got 5 of them. They you know what I mean? Like they got more than anything I've ever seen. And the way that they use their people with all of these, the motion that you talk about with Tyreek Hill, how that ends up helping their running game. They're running shovel passes to Travis Kelce.
Whoever they want to.
They do whatever they like. When you make them punt, it's a miracle. Like it's crazy. I have never seen anything like them before, bro. We live in a crazy time with this team, bro.
All that speed and your quarterback can throw the ball a mile. I told Sid, Pat Mahomes seemed to throw the ball better on the run than some starting quarterbacks do standing still.
And what's really crazy is during the broadcast, they were talking about how one of the ways that you want to try to play them is to get up in their face and jam their wide receivers. But Mahomes dropped back so far because he can throw it so far. Yeah. That ain't doing nothing. You ain't doing nothing.
And I was going to say that earlier when you said that about the only chance that you got is to, get Mahomes, make him uncomfortable back there. But, man, he's just as good moving around as he is standing still. And the other thing, man, I'm still not big on their defense at all. But once again, to this point, for the past 3 years, it don't matter what they doing on defense if you can't score with them. So like that's all. It don't matter what they got going on defense if you're not gonna be going touchdown for touchdown with them. So it don't really matter.
I don't think they have a shutdown defense. I just think they have good players where you need good players. They got Matthews and Chris Jones, and that's really all they need. They can get a little pass rush, and
I was
Matthews
about to say
is a ball hawk.
I was about to say we're gonna see Sunday. I mean Super Bowl Sunday if that's all they need. Because now you're in a position where, like you say, you're going up against the GOAT, who has Gronkowski, Chris Godwin, Mike Evans. Who you gonna try to take out, and then how you gonna approach the rest of them? You know.
I don't mean to. I know we got to move on, but like that's the only thing that's giving me some reason to pause. Because I had Kansas City over the Bucks, in the preseason, but this the second time Brady facing them. This Brady in the Super Bowl, and are they gonna be able to block the ends with their tackles being hurt? I don't know. It's one game. You know what I mean? Like that don't mean
that's it.
Be better than Kansas City. It's just 60 minutes.
Yeah.
Can they be better for 60 minutes? And we're going to see. I don't know. I think I'm going to still stick with Kansas City, but...
I'm about to say, you ready to make your pick? You rolling with Kansas City?
I'm not ready yet. But if I had to today, I'm going to stay with Kansas City.
Okay. All right. So let's look ahead to the offseason. You've been doing that since week 3 of the last regular season.
Week 3. Did I not tell the audience?
It was week 3. It was week maybe it's week 2 when you made that comment.
It was the very first game. It was halftime of the very first game. I said, man, this team is awful.
Yeah, I remember that, but then like a week later, you were like, "Yeah, we done. Like, I'm ready for the offseason."
Yeah. That was week 2.
Not week 3.
So let's look at the Detroit Lions and what they've done just this far, which, at this point, it's all coaching, staffing, and deciding that you're parting ways with your Hall of Fame quarterback. Things like that's going on to this point. And in my mind, to this point, I've told y'all this already. I feel like y'all have crushed it to this point. To this point of rebuilding your front office and rebuilding a coaching staff, I feel like that y'all have crushed it 100%. So what is it from your point of view?
Me?
Yeah.
Lions
fan. Yeah.
Well, I told you I was happy that they got with the Brad Holmes hire. I wanted Louis Riddick, but obviously that didn't go well because we hadn't heard anything about him for any GM position since then. But Brad Holmes, I'm always for people getting promotions. I'm always for minorities getting opportunities. So I'm happy with the Brad Holmes hire. The coaching staff, I did not like. I'm not gonna lie. I did not like them hiring Dan Campbell. I thought that there were better candidates. I did not like his press conference at all. But again,
Oh no, go ahead.
Yeah, but again, I'm gonna give him a chance because we talked about him. He's never been a coordinator on any level. Never been just been an interim head coach. But people seem to like him, and I think that a lot of their hires have been so much of fixing the culture because what is his name? Matt Patricia and Bob Quinn completely tore that down. So I think they're trying to build that back up. And again, I wasn't as much worried about if he was going to be the right coach as long as he got a good staff around him. And I feel like they've done a good job with that. I like them getting Anthony Lynn as the offensive coordinator. Glenn from the Saints is something we'll have to see about. But again, it's somebody given an opportunity from another successful organization. And again, Dan Campbell doesn't feel like a head coach because he was a tight ends coach, but he was also an assistant coach to the assistant head coach. Yeah, to a team that's been successful for the last 10 years. So I'm going to give it a chance. I like what they've done with Dorsey, bringing in Dorsey. I can't remember the other guy's name from the Rams that they brought in to be the assistant GM. But
yeah.
I'm very satisfied with what they've done to this point. And the Stafford thing, am I moving on
Yeah.
to
Oh, you good? Good.
I told you in the middle of the season that I was ready for him to go. Not because I don't think he can still play, because I think he's amazing. I love him as our quarterback, but it doesn't make sense to be paying him $20 million over the next 2 years when you're trying to figure out how you want this regime to look for the next 2 years. The only chance that he had at staying was if Darrell Bevel stayed on the staff, and I knew that wasn't going to happen. So I think it's time for both parties to I think it would be good for them both to separate from each other. The Lions get to completely start over. He gets to go somewhere, still make the money and play at that level. But again, for him, like I've been saying his whole career, things have to be around him better for him to be. He's not somebody like Aaron Rodgers. He's not going to be able to carry you to the Super Bowl. But if he's your quarterback, you ain't worried about that. You ain't got to worry about that because there are throws that he can make that only 5 people in the league can make.
Yeah.
But again, he needs help. He's not somebody that can do it by himself. So I think it'll work for both. This is an amicable breakup, however you say that.
It's very interesting that you have this view because, for one, me being a Saints fan on the outside looking in, I'm not sold on it. I know a lot of people, and like I always tell you, you're the only true Lions fan I know. However, being a part of a lot of football groups, social media wise, a lot of people have already brought into this new front office, these coaches. And the first thing that I say is, what the hell is Dan Campbell good at? Like, what has he succeeded in thus far in his career that make you say, oh yeah, we got our guy? I mean, he's 5-7 as a head coach. He has no true, like you said, no true experience as a OC for that point. The only thing you can kind of say is that he's been a part of a organization that's been known for winning these past couple of years. Same thing for Aaron Glenn. Phenomenal football player in his day, but as a coach in the NFL, what is he good at? I mean, he specializes in DBs. You can't say he hit home runs with his tension in New Orleans. I just feel like you can't say that. So you telling me that I got a head coach who was 5-7. We really don't know what he's good at. He's not a QB whisperer or anything like that. Then I have a defensive coordinator who's a DB coach who's not known for turning water into wine on with defensive backs. So I'm not sold, and everything that I've been seeing from folks on social media who are Lion fans, man, they ready to buy into Dan Campbell. And then like the deal he got, what was it, 5 or 6 years or something like that?
Yeah. 6 years.
6 years, yeah, that's a.
That either.
Say it again.
Oh, what you were saying, Shawn?
No, I just was saying that I didn't like that either.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay. And lastly, the possibility of the departure of Matthew Stafford. It's crazy that you see Matthew Stafford like that, because a lot of times I talk to people about quarterbacks such as Matthew Stafford, such as Matt Ryan. The perfect example for me was Tony Romo when he played with Dallas. I think they all are second tier level quarterbacks. Mm-hmm. Guys that, like you say, if this is our quarterback, we're not worried come Sunday. We feel comfortable with what we got. However, that's not the guys who you want to put the game on their backs and say, okay, you're down the receiver, you're down the tackle, go win this game for me. Yeah. I really feel if Matthew Stafford go to San Francisco, see, you already know, any quarterback that got 2 arms and 2 legs, I feel like can succeed in San Francisco. If Matthew Stafford goes there, watch out NFL. I really feel that way about him. But you got a new head coach who's 5-7, like I said, DC who never been a DC before, and we may not have Matthew Stafford. I'm just not sure about this upcoming season for Detroit.
So my first thing about the first comment you made about Dan Campbell and Aaron Glenn and guys like that not being proven, my only rebuttal to that is if you go by that logic, you never get anybody new into any position. We just steadily recycling Marvin Lewis's and Jim Caldwell's and stuff like that and hoping that one day they figure it out, even though they haven't. So eventually you have to start taking chances on people like that who aren't actually proven in what it is you're looking for, but are coming from a winning culture. And that's one of the biggest things for me about Detroit is everywhere that they pulled from was from a winning culture. And the one position that I'm still real big on that wasn't is them hiring Duke Staley as the assistant head coach. No, that's not a winning culture right now, but he's been there for a very long time, and he's somebody that was so respected in the Philadelphia locker room that they wanted him as their head coach, and that's his reason for parting ways with them. The Dan Campbell thing, you can look at that 5-7 record, and like I throw that out. That's an interim head coach. Like he wasn't even given that team, to actually go out there and prove anything with. I told Shawn this the other day because once again, when we saw that the Dan Campbell thing was looking to happen, we were like, well, let's see what he's able to put around him. Mm-hmm. I told Shawn yesterday that I feel like Dan Campbell he's culture. He's a hype man. Dan Campbell is a hype man.
Yeah.
Players coach.
And the GM is somebody who's he's just new. He's different. He's something that we, like you say, we don't know what he's going to be because we haven't seen it yet, but he's a fresh face. More important to me is Anthony Lynn being the offensive coordinator. And you getting the guy from the Rams to be the assistant GM, somebody who's already had those type of responsibilities and is proven in what it is that he's done already. The Aaron Glenn situation, to me, that's just like the Chris Richard situation. It had come to like you're only gonna do this for so long, and until somebody's saying, well, now it's time to see if he can really be a defensive coordinator. Mm-hmm. Now it's time to see what he can really do. And once again, like I say, I love every position that they filled. They've done it with, like I said, somebody from a winning culture, and that matters. Like that's something that really matters. And then everybody under that, you got your football mind with Anthony Lynn. Like that's somebody who's been a head coach who, depending on how you want to look at it, did a good job at what he was given with, in his head coaching tenure. So I like everything that's been put there around that. Even if you're looking at Dan Campbell and saying, look, I'm not too sure about him, I love everything else that's been put around them. And I feel like, once again, like Shawn said, the first step is changing that culture, building that culture back up. This is the first step at doing that. Now, let's see these football minds that you actually brought in outside of a Dan Campbell or the fresh GM, even if you're riding the backs of Anthony Lynn and the assistant GM. Now let's see what y'all football minds can do for a football team that, from top to bottom, isn't a bad football team. It's just there are some glaring needs. And once again, it's a lot of those guys towards the end of it just seemed like they didn't care for Matt Patricia. So how much they gonna give for Matt Patricia in a situation where we know we losing? So I think they have the talent. The scheme was horrible. I think this could be a decent. I don't think this will be long to turn over with the right moves, player wise. I can see in 2 seasons we're talking about a 9-7, 10-6 Detroit Lions team, depending on what they can do, what they can get from Matthew Stafford. For one, that's the biggest thing at this point, and then what they can put around. Because me and Shawn talked about it yesterday. Most of the roster is young. Most of the important positions are young. If you bring back Galladay, you got DeAndre Swift, you got Hawkinson, you got Jeff Okudah. Like, you got guys who have great potential and promise. It's just who's going to be able to get all of that out of them.
So one thing I wanted to say about Dan Campbell, you were saying if you got these football minds outside of your Sean McVays, your Sean Paytons, the head coach's job is to coach the coaches. You know what I mean? So if he can get out of the way of letting Anthony Lynn do what he do with the offense, letting the D coordinator do what he do with the defense, if he's the motivator, decision maker, and ultimately just the leader, having a good staff around him is what's the most important. And I feel like they've done a good job at that so far.
You know what I compare it to? Steve Nash in Brooklyn. I told you I didn't like the Steve Nash hire, but once you throw Mike D'Antoni on side of him, and then you're able to keep what's the guy Vaughn, the guy who coached him last year.
Mm-hmm.
Once you're able to keep those guys around him, then that makes that hire like I can care less of who it was now if you're telling me that that's what's going to fill out the staff.
Yeah, and see, you spoke about all these coaches coming from a winning organization of such. To me, that really, it doesn't go as long as we really think it goes. If you look at a team like the New England Patriots, to me, who are the perfect example, they're the most winning franchise of any sport there is, even with baseball, where they necessarily didn't have salary caps and such. New England has won more than any other team there is. Every coach that come from New England within a 2 or 3 year span, they fail. But they come from a winning organization. Just because you attach to that winning organization doesn't mean you're good at what you do. And for me, I look at it like Golden State. When they were on that roll, when Mark left and Steve Kerr took over, before you know it, Elvin Gentry get a job. And I was like, man, I don't like that signing. And you were like, I mean, who do you want from their staff? Who is it that you can say, oh, they're the reason that Golden State is the way that they are? I just think sometimes teams are just great because of talent and coaches benefit from it. Anthony Lynn, I'm not sold on him either. I mean, as a head coach, he was 33 and 32, I believe. And he was one of the minority coaches that got a coaching job and actually had talent in-house. I know he went through a lot of injuries with San Diego.
A lot of injuries.
However, you have to be able to have this next man up approach and be a little bit more consistent. I'm not expecting him to win the Super Bowl. I'm not expecting him to make the playoffs every single year. But to me, it was sometimes San Diego had enough talent left and it wasn't competitive. That was my issue. To be honest, is probably the safest coach I feel like that's on this staff is Anthony Lynn.
I agree, but I wanted to say too, like, Todd Bowles is a good example. Sometimes when you get your promotion, he got his promotion like Anthony Lynn did. He failed, and now he's back in the role that he was successful at. So, and the same thing is happening for Bowles. He went to the Jets. It was a disaster because it was the Jets. And now he's back being a D coordinator where he was successful, where he got his promotion. So that's why, like you said, I agree Anthony Lynn is the most decorated coordinator or the coach on the staff, but you gotta start somewhere with people getting promotions. You know what I mean? And I'm not plucking a guy from Denver. I would rather get a guy from the Saints than I would from the Panthers. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And that's my you want me to go get the OC from Houston to run the team for this year? Like that's not what we're doing.
And look, that's my fear. You got a guy. You didn't get the guy. You got a guy.
That's not a hit and miss because just like you could pull up a Josh McDaniels or a Bill O'Brien, I can point to you now recently at a Brian Flores or a what's the other guy? Mike Vrabel, and say, well, those guys are successful. They're from that Patriots culture. So it's real hit and miss. But once again, you gonna pull from the winning culture or you gonna pull from the guys that's drafting first and second every year? Because you gotta get a coach from somewhere, Reg. So where you want to get them from?
True, but I'm trying to get a coach that I feel represent the brand of football to my liking. That's what I'm going for. Now, if they select, I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. Went out.
I'm sorry. You talking about the head coach, or you talking about all of the coaches?
The coach. If that's what Detroit really want in house, if they like the energy that Dan Campbell bring. Sell me on that. Don't sell me on the fact he was attached to the New Orleans Saints for the past 5-6 years. Sell me on the fact you sat down with this man 2 or 3 times. He speaks your brand. This is exactly the idea you have of your football team. This is the energy you want going forward. Sell me on that. Don't sell me on the fact he was the tight end coach and the assistant cheerleading director and all the rest of this crap.
So now we down to technicalities because they could come out there and say that's what Dan Campbell sold them on, and you'll still have Detroit fans saying and that's supposed to translate to what? So what's the difference between them saying, well, he's coming from a winning culture, we think he can bring that here? What's the difference between saying that and saying, look, this is the type of coach that we want. He's going to bring this energy to us that's going to be different than what we had. Regardless of which way you put it, the Detroit fans that like the move gonna like the move, and the ones that don't are not.
Yeah.
Regardless of which way you send it to them. Yeah,
I like it, but I'm giving it a chance.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to stay on this too long, but the only difference is I'm saying I'm not hiring someone because of what they was attached of if they wasn't the main source of the success where they were.
How you gonna get the main source? How hard is it to get a main source? Like if it was easy to go and get a Sean McVay or Kyle Shanahan or whoever, like that's not gonna happen.
So when I'm interviewing so that's what I'm saying. So when I'm interviewing, because it's so hard to get that, when I interview, I'm looking for who is really saying the things I want. Who is telling me?
I can guarantee you he did that much.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Now, if they tell me they're more sold on the direction that he wants to go in than the other candidates, fine. I have no problem. This guy is his ideas lines up with your ideas. But I'm saying all that looking at him as, okay, he's going to be okay because he comes from a successful background. I'm just saying I'm not sold on that.
But one last thing I want to say too is you also got to look at it from this side. Somebody got to want the job too. You know what I mean? So I do think that matters with the people that they talk to, the Robert Salas, the Eric Bieniemys that they interview, the top names that they wanted. I do think that they were like, well, you ain't gonna have Matthew Stafford. So, and they were like, nah, well, I ain't interested then. So you know what I mean? So it's got to be. Mm-hmm. Some of that has got to be on the people that they're interviewing too, because I can't just say, well, why they ain't go get Nick Saban? Well, he ain't want the job. You know what I mean? So, I mean, exactly. If Dan Campbell's the best they could do, I guess it's the best they could do.
And lastly, you stated that you got Stafford being a Hall of Famer. That was correct.
You saw the face I gave.
I was holding it in. I was holding it in.
I think by the end of his career, he'll be the Hall of Fame.
At this moment in time, though, he's not. No.
At this moment, his play conducts a Hall of Fame player. He doesn't have any championships or hasn't gotten far enough in the playoffs
to win.
Yeah, exactly. To be able to put him there. But Matthew Stafford right now is just as much as a Hall of Famer as Eli is without his 2 titles.
You can't say without the 2 titles.
I can because that's the only. You telling me Eli Manning getting into the Super Bowl without the 2 Super Bowls?
No, but he got them.
Exactly. That doesn't mean because he has 2 Super Bowls, and so now you're gonna throw in front of his name 2-time Super Bowl champion Eli Manning. He didn't win a Super Bowl. He got carried to Super Bowls. He was on Super Bowl winning teams.
Yeah. Okay.
He was a Super Bowl winning team. He's not a Super Bowl. No, fuck that.
Stafford does have an opportunity if he plays about 5 more years, he'll get there with the numbers. Even if he don't. But that's why I made the face though. Just at this moment in time, I'm like, nah, it ain't.
Yeah. He going and a lot of people don't feel like Phillip Rivers is
I was just about to say,
Hall of Fame. I do.
Yeah.
And that's what I see Matthew Stafford, being. Even if he don't ever win a title, they're gonna have a similar career.
I'm not sure how many times he made it to the postseason in his career. You being a Lions fan, do you know that number off the top of your head?
I want to say
3 times.
It was 3.
Yeah.
It was 3. Yeah. So it's pretty tough for me. Definitely not right now. In the next 5 years, I'm not even sure. He would have to. I want him to be remembered as more of a winner. And
whatever situation he ends up in from here, he's going to win. Like it's not. I doubt he's going to go to a situation that mirrors a Detroit.
I hope that's not a given.
Yeah.
I could pretty much guarantee that just because for one, Detroit obviously respects the man in some degree to put him in a situation where he's going to be comfortable with, rather than
where you go.
Unless the Jets be like, here, take this number 2, and they're like, wait, hey, look, Matt, Look, we tried to get you somewhere good, but look, they giving us the number 2, and that's not gonna happen. So wherever he goes from here, there's going to be a lot of winning in his future.
I hope so.
But that's all. Oh, you ready to make that pick, bro?
Me? Me?
Yeah, you ready to make this?
No. I give me this. We got the whole week in between. Let me see what it looked like leading up to it.
I got you. I'm right there with you, Shawn.
All right, so that's it for today. Next week we'll get on here and talk Super Bowl, and talk about a lot of this quarterback movement that's about to be going on heading into this next season, which is definitely going to be interesting. But that's all I got for today, man.
Hey, thanks for joining us, Shawn.
No problem, man.
Nigga, I'm in the league, you boys not in my league. If you listen close, I'm coaching, take heed. Cause the boy hella dope without pushing a Blanco. Still stabbing bitches like 94 in the Bronco. If it's about the money, I'm leaving them hoes pronto. If I don't do nothing, I'm about line so.